Avian flu has been spreading in cows across several states, and tonight a UW-Madison expert is explaining what this means right here in Wisconsin. WMTV's Tyler Peters talked with this expert and joins us now with more. Tyler.
The avian flu has been detected in cows in 6 different states. This includes Texas, Kansas, New Mexico, Idaho, Michigan, and Ohio. While no cases are in Wisconsin yet, the UW-Madison expert I spoke with says it's important farmers are being aware.
The cows that we're seeing, we assume were infected by birds, but we don't have all of the information yet.
Keith Poulsen is the director of the Wisconsin Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory at UW-Madison. He's been working to determine what's behind cows contracting a strain of the avian flu and how it's spreading.
With some of the cows moving into some of the northern Midwestern states, we are seeing and suggestive of lateral transmission or cow to cow.
Signs of an infected cow include slowing down and a loss of appetite. If farmers notice anything like this, Poulsen says to immediately contact a veterinarian.
Wisconsin is blessed with some of the best dairy veterinarians in the world. We should utilize them as a resource.
For cows, this strain hasn't been deadly.
Where the cows are definitely sick, I don't want to downplay that, and they drop in milk production, which it's important, but they do recover.
Poulsen says he doesn't believe the disease will make its way to Wisconsin, but did not rule out the possibility.
I think our biggest risk would be if we were moving lactating animals from an affected herd into a Wisconsin herd.
Despite some cows being infected, Poulsen says dairy and meat products are still safe to consume. But for now, in studio, Tyler Peters, WMTV 15 News.